This is FE Peer Review, the Flat Earth Peer Review channel. The date is October the 9th, 2020. The video in review is by Rachie 00000, and the URL of the video is below. This is round two, we might say, of this discussion, which I think is a good thing. Unfortunately, I don't think we made a whole lot of progress in round one. I tried to make several different points in my previous video, of which only one was addressed in the response. Wasn't exactly a response to my video, but only one of the points I raised was really examined in Rachie's follow-up video. The others seem to have been completely not noticed. Now, my apologies that my video response of 30 minutes was 10 times longer than the original video of Rachie's, 3 minutes. I understand totally that Rachie may or may not have watched the entire thing, and I don't expect anybody to watch anything that I produce. I appreciate it when they do. However, I'm going to bring out the points that I think Rachie has not gotten, or at least did not address, and so we will now proceed. Okay, so here's a screenshot, a screen grab from Rachie's video at 1 minute and 8 seconds into the video. Rachie had a list of 6 stacks of coins from left to right: a 2p, 3 2ps, 2 2ps, a penny, a 5p, and 2 2ps with 3 pennies on top. So in this image, I see 5 stacks of coins. I think that we're probably not seeing the first coin, the 2p. We see the 3 2ps, we see the 2 2ps, we see the penny. I'll give you a close-up in a minute. We see the 5p, and we see the 2 2ps with 3 p's on top. Time for the close-up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we see 5 of the 6 stacks. We're not seeing the 2p, but we pretty much see the others. The penny, the 5p is faint. If I recall correctly, the 5p is the silver-colored coin and is against a white background. I think one thing that is, well, before I say that, look at the next screenshot. So here we are, 1 minute 08. This is a screenshot from 1 minute and 29 seconds, and I zoomed in. And again, we see more clearly at least 5 stacks of pennies. I'm not sure what's going on here, but I think we see at least 5 stacks of coins. We also see just how difficult the camera is finding it to focus on anything in that area. The floor is completely out of focus. None of the wood grain of the floor is showing at all, which we did get glimpses of throughout the video. So there is a wood grain in the floor. None of that shows up. The demarcation line between the floor and the baseboard is completely gone. Even though the baseboard is white and the floor is dark, we just see a very fuzzy zone, and that's precisely where the coins are, in that fuzzy zone. So what we're seeing really may have absolutely nothing to do with things disappearing from the bottom up. What we may be seeing, and this was one of the points Rachie didn't seem to get, is the nature of the tools Rachie is working with. We need to understand the strengths and the weaknesses, the limitations of the tools we use when we do observations, whether those tools are our eyes or a mobile phone or an electron microscope. These tools all have limitations. Clearly, this camera is not capable of focusing on anything at in that particular condition. The focus of the floorboard to the baseboard to the wall is a complete mess. There's all of these little spots that are out of focus. So, Rachie, I think you need to acknowledge that the tool you're using is very likely limiting what you're seeing, rather than some kind of natural phenomenon that enables objects to disappear behind a flat surface. I mean, yeah, maybe that is something that happens, but I think that with this tool that you're using, you will never identify that phenomenon if it exists, because the tool is not up to the job. So that's one of the points that was in my video that you really didn't seem to get, the limitation of the tools. And that is, I discussed that at the 3-minute mark in my video. So if you want to go back and listen to a little bit what I have to say about tools and in particular cameras, check out the 3-minute mark. Like I said, I don't expect you to watch a 30-minute video response. I mean, it'd be great if you did watch the entire thing, but I don't expect you to. The second point that seems to have disappeared is the extension of this observation of Rachie's in the hallway to the bigger picture, which is the Earth, whether it's a flat plane or a globe. We see objects disappearing from the bottom up when we look out over long distances, such as a seascape and wind turbines, in the sea, out at sea. We see this phenomenon. There's no question about what we see. It's clear enough. But there is apparently a threat to the globe Earth hypothesis in that observation. So what Rachie appears to be doing here is trying to show that a flat surface, a flat plane, can cause the same phenomenon that we see happening with these wind turbines off at sea. Now, given the poor quality of the observation in Rachie's hallway there, due to the lack of use of appropriate tools, I'm not really worried about that. But what I think we need to get to here is that there is an underlying motive to try to reconcile objects disappearing below the horizon with a flat plane. And we need a little bit of intellectual rigor and a little bit of intellectual honesty to address this properly. Now, I did a fairly lengthy section in my previous video starting at 9:27, and I think it would be very useful for Rachie to go back and watch that if she didn't before, or watch it again and think about it a little more carefully. I'm gonna skip ahead though. It starts at 9:27, and that lays the basis for a whole lot of other for the conclusions I come to, but I'm going to skip to the conclusion section of that part of the video, and that is at 16:16. And what we see there is an observer on the left, a red triangle, a blocking object of some kind which is at a lower elevation, the top of which is at a lower elevation than the observer, and then a target object. And in this case, I was suggesting, in the situation of wind turbines at sea, such as we saw in the view of the Irish Sea looking towards Wales, with the wind turbines in rows receding away. Now, what I demonstrated through this diagram was that on a flat plane, the more distant wind turbines, though appearing smaller in angular size, would actually be fully in view, whereas the closest wind turbines would have the bottom portions blocked. According to the flat plane model, the geometry shows that the blocking object would obscure the bottom of the closest wind turbine, a little less of the second row, a little less of the third, and by the time you get out to the fourth row, none at all. So that is actually precisely the opposite of what we observe in reality. We see the full turbines. When we see the first row of turbines, we're seeing them right down to the waterline. When we see the most distant turbines, we see them hidden by the waterline. So what we observe in reality simply does not match the geometrical model of a flat plane. It doesn't match it. You can try to find some way to twist observation through some sort of atmospheric effects and ether bands and whatever you want to claim that what we see matches a flat plane, but you're going to have to prove all those things first. So Rachie, if your point with trying to do this thing in the hallway is to satisfy yourself that Ranty has it right, I think you need to take a really close look at this diagram and give it some real thought. I think I've said enough. There's no point in beating a dead horse here, so I'll leave it at that. Keep at it. I hope you all like this video. Please like, please subscribe, and Rachie, keep doing your observations, but treat them really seriously. if you're going to base your life decisions on the conclusions you come to. It really does matter.